Hi, this is Kevin Kotz, and I will be your instructor for History 1014 Online for this quarter. And what I thought I'd do is make a little video just showing you the syllabus and seeing if I can guess any questions you might have on this. So what I'm going to do is switch to this syllabus now. What I've done is given you a little bit of a welcome, and in the first part of the syllabus, I just give you a brief description about what we're going to look at. Now, we are meeting for 10 weeks. We've got a number of civilizations to go through, so this really is just a survey. But we are going to focus on three, what I'm calling themes, special themes. Sustainability, or how did ancient cultures sustain themselves in times of peace or war. Something called cross-cultural interactions. And then, in some cases, what was happening on the borderlands between the two. And what I'd like you to do is read through the rest of this. I've given you my contact details, my email, where my office is, and my scheduled office hour. I teach another class, but you can certainly come in to see me. If that doesn't work, I've set up in Blackboard something called a Zoom room where we can meet face-to-face through video conferencing. So if you want to do that, just contact me and I will set all of that up. Scooting down the syllabus a little bit more, required reading. So we don't have a required textbook for this course. So what I've done is given you usually 2 articles to read each week, and those should fill in some of the gaps or talk about some of the specialized topics that we will be thinking about in this course. And what I've done is in Blackboard, I've given you the actual article. So all you have to do is click it. It's a PDF, and it will open up in your browser. I do give you an optional book. If you'd like to read a textbook, a really nice one is called World History, Volume 1, the 8th edition, as an ebook. And if you have the actual syllabus in front of you, you can click on that link and you can end up buying it. Now, in March, this book was $27. And it's a pretty good book. I would strongly advise buying the ebook instead because it's significantly cheaper, but you don't need a textbook unless you actually want it. I also give in our Blackboard section a link to practice quizzes. So it links to one of these books on world history, and it's a really good way just to test yourself, but you don't have to do that. Again, that's totally optional. I give you the student learning outcomes, and I'm sure you've seen these before, maybe you haven't focused on it very much, but in this course I give weekly student learning outcomes, and these will be used by you as a study guide, so make sure that you read through those. I talk about how to be a successful online student. I think there's this general idea that online courses are easier. This is not the case for this course. It's not any harder than it would be if you were taking it in class, but you do have to be self-motivated to take any online course. You have to set aside time to do it, and if you have to, you can just imagine sitting in a course for 3 hours and 50 minutes every week, and just set aside that time to listen to the lectures, because I make video lectures, do all the readings, and of course do the assignments. I give the list of hardware. The grading scale is your typical grade scale. I do mention on here that I can and do sometimes raise grades at the very end. So as I say here in the syllabus, if you are at a 92.8, I will raise people up generally to 93, but I'll only do this if you do all the assignments. If you skipped an assignment, I won't be raising your grade. In terms of how I grade too, if I ask you to write something that's 400 words long and you give me 300, what that means is the absolute maximum grade you can receive is 75%, because you've only done 75% of the assignment. So try and get very close to the word count. In terms of late policies, everything is due by the due date, and it's usually 11:59 on a Sunday. Sometimes there's different assignments that are due on Wednesdays. For the essay, there is a late policy, which is a 10% per day reduction in the grade, and that includes weekends. However, I want to make it crystal clear that if you're having any difficulties whatsoever, if you're sick, someone died in your family, and so on, contact me, and we can adjust these due dates, and these you obviously won't have any late penalties. Don't just not contact me. So contact me as soon as possible if you know something's coming up, or if you're sick and you can't do the assignment. I'm happy to not give you that late penalty. I give the incomplete policy and the complaint policy here. In terms of your assignments, what I do is I just give a brief description of these here on the syllabus. You'll get a more in-depth description within Blackboard. But there is a syllabus quiz, and I say this is open book, meaning you can look at the syllabus while you're doing during the quiz. It's the only quiz that you can actually look at something while you're taking it. I do have a number of discussion boards that you'll be taking part in, so it's just an introductory one. More importantly, these major discussion board assignments, which are based on the assigned articles you'll be reading. And I want you to read the description very closely, because I give detailed instructions on how I want the discussion to look. So I will post the questions, topics you're to discuss. These all need to be answered by everybody by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Your answer needs to be at least 250 words and cited if you use any outside material. And I give a rubric in Blackboard so you can take a look at this. So by Wednesday at 11:59 you have to have your first prompt answered, and then you need to respond to 2 posts by Friday night at 11:59 p.m. And actually, I'm reading through the syllabus. Maybe it'll just be 1 post. I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, your answers must include these things. So a quote from the specific statement you're referring to, a paraphrase, a discussion on why you agree or disagree with it, a specific question on the material discussed in the original post, and this is all due by Friday night at 11:59 p.m. And then by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m., the person who made the original post needs to answer the question. So you have to do all these to get full credit. And once the discussion board is finished, which is Sunday night at 11:59 p.m., I won't be going back to do any grading. So if you decide you're going to do everything Monday morning, I won't be grading it. So please make sure you pay attention to these deadlines. There's a few more assignments. So another major assignment you'll have is writing an essay. So there's a few stages we'll go through for writing your essays. You'll have an outline and annotated bibliography due. And I should say these percentages that I list here are the percentage for your grade. So the annotated bibliography and outline is worth 5% of your entire grade. There's a rough draft or a first draft due, and then we'll also be doing peer assessments of the rough draft. And again, I just give a little bit of description here. You can look at that later. The essay will be about 1,250 words or 5 pages, and it's 25% of your total grade. And I'm not going to go through all of these directions. I'm expecting that you will go through the syllabus in detail. But in your essay, you need to use at least 5 secondary sources. 4 of those need to be books or journal articles. And 1 can be a website. It needs to be .edu or something that I approve of before you start writing. So just remember that 4 sources out of your 5 need to be books or journal articles. You also need to make use of at least 1 primary source, which is something written in the ancient world. This can either be written or it can be archaeology. And make sure you look at the rubric for how you're doing this. And I'll go through how to write an essay and how to insert footnotes and so on in case you haven't done that. There'll be 3 quizzes throughout the quarter. These are 5% each. We won't be having a final exam. So there'll be a final project due, but there's no final exam. We're also doing a few video projects. So I'm going to ask you to create a 2 to 3 minute individual video on something we're working on in class. And I will give you all the details on how to make a video in case you haven't done that within Blackboard. There'll also be a team video project. So you'll be working in teams to create a project on a particular topic. And we'll also be peer reviewing these team videos. This team video will act as the final project. So instead of a final exam, there'll be this final video project. I'll also be giving extra credit. So we're going to be voting on the best video in class, and the team that gets this will get a 1% increase in your total grade. Attendance policy. So I'm expecting everyone to get on to our Blackboard course and be working at least a few times a week. And I can certainly check on that, and I will be checking on that to make sure that people are logging in, looking over the material, and so on. Now this is the next part, the weekly schedule, readings, assignments, is probably the most important part of the syllabus. So what I've done here is given you the week. So in week 1, which starts on September 20th and goes to the following Sunday, the topic will be what we'll be doing in this class and what is history. I've given you an optional reading. This is, and if you look up here, here's the key. DS is Duke or Spielvogel. This is the optional reading, the optional book that I mentioned before. So I want you to read through the documents in the essay folder on Blackboard, read the how do I hints and tips sections, and so on. So I will be adding more material to this as time goes on and as we get to these specific assignments. And then finally, other class activities. So the first week, you need to give an introduction to the discussion board, and this is due by Sunday at 11:59, and you have to take the syllabus quiz by Sunday at 11:59. And then we start our next week. Now I will open the first 2 weeks of the course in Blackboard so you can see the structure. Week 2, we're looking at the Neolithic period. I've given you the optional readings, and then I've given you the required readings, which are 2 articles, Housing Neolithic Farmers, and then the Urban Revolution. So you need to read both of those during this week, and then you have your Neolithic discussion, which is the first major discussion. This is due Wednesday. Again, see the syllabus for the deadlines. You have to respond to 2 posts by Friday and then answer the question by Sunday. I'll just go through one more week, so how this is all set up is crystal clear, and then you can go through the rest. So week 3, we're looking at Egypt. Up at the top, I give you the optional readings, and then I give you a required article, Town Planning in Pharaonic Egypt. And there's no assignments due that week. And then you can look through the rest of the syllabus. So I'm just going to scoot down. At the very end of the syllabus, I talk about academic dishonesty. So everyone should know exactly what that is. And the penalties are pretty serious. Usually you fail the entire course if I find someone plagiarizing, or cheating on the quizzes or whatever it is. And the process is that I fill out a form that is signed by myself, signed by my head of department, and it will go up to the dean, and it will go into your official academic file. I will also attach the original paper, the assignment to the report. If there is another academic dishonesty report in your file, then you will be called in front of a judiciary and explain why you are doing this at the university. And it's possible that you could be kicked out. So plagiarism and academic dishonesty is extremely serious. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. Accessibility services, I mention in the syllabus up at the top that when you're listening to the lectures, everything is professionally captioned. I give you the PowerPoints. I also give you the texts, so of what I'm saying. If you have a documented disability, please contact me as soon as possible, and we can take care of anything that needs to be done so that you succeed in this course. I also give you the number and email to the Student Center for Academic Achievement. If you're having any academic issues, of course, come to me first, and if it's something more serious, then I will refer you to them. I've given you here the Title IX information on sexual violence and harassment. As I put up here, the university does not discriminate in anything. And if you believe that you've been sexually harassed or sexually abused by a professor, staff member, or another student, you have to tell somebody. So either come to me or talk to somebody directly in the Title IX office. And then I just give you the emergency information that everyone should be aware of. So if you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to send me an email. I will set up a discussion board on Blackboard that if you have any general questions about the course, please put the questions there, because you're probably not the only one who has questions. If you have something specific about an assignment, say if you want to know why I graded your essay in a certain way, don't put that up on the general discussion board. just send me a personal email and I will respond privately.